Hey guys, Adam from Equipped Indoor. I have with me here the Benchmade bushcraft knife. Now we talked to Jason Boyd at SHOT Show 2013 specifically about this idea. This is a Sibert Design S30V blade. We'll go over all the specs here in a few. When I first looked at this knife, I didn't think I'd like the handle. And also, it had been advertised as a hollow grind knife. I can tell you right now, it is not a hollow grind knife. It is a saber grind. V-edge, nice edge on this. Sharp, sharp back. I think this thing is have no problem, you know, launching some sparks from a ferro rod. Let me give you guys some close-up shots right now. All right guys, here we have the 162 Bushcrafter. Now this is part of the blue class from Benchmade. Like I said before, we have these green G10 scales, red vulcanized liners, and titanium tubing. So you have two here and then a third lanyard hole. The length of the blade is 4.43 inches. The thickness is 0.164 inches. Handle thickness 0.92 at its thickest point. Weighs about 7.62 ounces. Overall length is 9.2. High grind drop point, polished finish, Sibert Design. MSRP is $200. The street price for this is about $170. I've already seen it there online. You guys can see the Benchmade and the 162 under the blade. And on the other side, S30V and Sibert Design. So let's talk about S30V real quick. It's, I'll tell you one thing, it is hard on grinders. So it is, I know it's not the favorite steel from some knife makers to use, it's just a hard material to work with. It does stay sharp. It's very wear resistant. Stainless overall, it's what they call a very fine grain edge. So very, very sharp edge. Good overall toughness. The average hardness is about 59.5 on the Rockwell hardness scale. Kind of drawn a concern about this knife, like I said before, is the handle. It just looks very odd, but I am able to hold this in a multitude of different ways, as you guys can see. So all in all, I think it's going to be very comfortable to hold and do different bushcraft type exercises with. Now it is a lot thicker stock than I thought that they'd put out. 1/8 of an inch is great thickness for a bushcraft knife. You know, 5/32 isn't bad either. You guys can see how high that grind is up there. Nice simple drop point. And we're gonna start cutting something. That the plunge here is a little funny. You guys can see that. It's interesting. And then we have these scalped areas right here to pinch off for the knife, using in different ways. And then back here, if you want to hold it further back. Now, the weight is definitely in the handle. There's really no forward weight on this knife, as you guys can see. But it feels pretty good. Let's go try to cut some tent pegs here real quick. What we're going to do is we're going to chop down this tree to make some tent pegs. This is competing with a few other trees here, so even this is a live tree, it's not going to last much longer. And one thing we do with our tent stakes is do some cuts this way. So once it goes in the ground, hard time pulling it back up. Oh, you don't cut them off, that is. That'll work. It's just feeling pretty durable. And here's the sheath. The sheath is probably the most lackluster aspect about this kit. We'll talk about that here in a few. Let's go finish putting together these stakes and our shelter for today. Now let's talk a little bit about the sheath. The sheath is probably the worst part of the system overall. It does have a polymer insert here, which I'm glad, because this sheath fits in here so tight that the billet here I thought was just going to be worn away to nothing in no time. I mean, that you got edge contact all the way down. Now it's pretty secure, and they're going for that rustic look, but I just don't think that it matches the overall look of the knife. Maybe if they went something with maybe wood scales or like that. And then they do throw a loop in here for a ferro rod. Gotta light my fire ferro rod. That does fit in there pretty tight, as you guys can see. Give you guys some closer looks. So we don't have any drain hole right here, which I'm kind of surprised with. They could put a little something. And you guys can see the fit and finish of the sheath is decent. 1 D-ring. There's no dangler here, which I was kind of disappointed with. And the belt loop, it's going to sit very, very high on somebody's belt. It's a nice looking rustic piece, and I think that if you're a Benchmade nut, like I said before, you'll definitely have to add this collection. It's actually a knife that I wouldn't mind having in my collection. I don't know if I think that the utility for my field crafts or survival skills is going to be there with this. It's not bad. It's well executed in reference to the cutting geometry and stuff like that. The biggest complaint I have is just the handle. It doesn't feel bad in your hand. Just when I want to do some different tasks, some different techniques, it's not working with me as well as I like it. I'd probably take this to a buddy of mine and grind that piece off if this was going to be my main carry knife. I'm glad they do have a lanyard hole in there. And since you have these titanium tubes here, you can do some pretty interesting stuff in reference to tying this to a long branch or something to make a spear, or some other things you can do because of that option. Let me show you guys inside the sheath here. We are cutting on that right there all the way down. It fits in there so tight. At first I was worried about this thing ejecting out of the sheath, but there is a liner in there. Looks like a little piece of plastic liner in there. So that will make sure that guides the knife and doesn't get snagged up, so we pierce the sheath itself. It's definitely a handsome looking piece though. I'd probably go with more natural micarta look myself though. Alright guys, that's gonna pretty much wrap it up for this test of this knife. Not bad chopping, it excelled at. We were able to get down there and take out some good bites of wood with a knife this small. And we're chopping smaller stuff when I was making my tent pegs and stuff like that. For the carving abilities of this, it's going to slide right through material. The edge is very well honed. The one issue that I was having is just that getting used to the angle of this and doing certain things like fuzz sticks. But if I do a full slice on this thing, I mean, it's going to just eat through material. Hope you guys just saw that go into the firebox. That was pretty cool. So we're able to come in there. The S30V is going to be a very good choice for a long wear resistant steel. it's going to be able to stay sharp out there for you guys for an extremely long time out in the field. And then the drop point is definitely going to be a great little knife for carving, smaller carving tasks, wood lore tasks, and things like that. If you're one of those guys who has to have a fire steel with this bad boy does launch a fire steel like nobody's business. Let me just give you guys another quick demonstration of that. I mean, that thing is just showering sparks. Look at that. And this is just a Pro Force fire tool steel. I've had better steels than this, like a Glob Fire or something like that. This thing would be, it's like an ice skate. It's almost too sharp, to tell you the truth. It's right there on that edge. The G10, while it's comfortable, I'm not really a big fan of the color, but you know, that's all personal preference. So the only real complaint is just this on the knife, is just this edge right here, which I think would get to be a kind of a hot spot if I was using more of a chest lever type style. I guess I could choke up a little bit more on there and it would fit there pretty well. My hands are just almost too big for that. Actually, you know what, to tell you the truth, that doesn't feel bad. So I might have to take that back because that actually feels pretty good. It's just different than what I'm used to. Well, then I'm getting it on the front end. So maybe somebody with some hands slightly smaller than me, it would probably fit them perfectly. Just a little bit, you guys can see that right there, just biting into me a little bit on that kind of hold. But for a 4-wood slice, you got great control of it. So not just a push cut, but a slice cut. So we're using the length of the blade. Yeah, so good stuff all in all. Pretty thick on the tips. The tip strength on this is going to be pretty good as well. The 162 from Benchmade, their first bushcraft knife, a Cybert design. Check it out, guys. Let me know what you think. And like everything, Benchmade sent this knife to us, so we'll be doing a giveaway on this knife here really soon. Make sure you guys check out the newsletter. You can sign up at the bottom of the page for the newsletter. We do all of our announcements for the giveaways on the newsletter. Some we do on YouTube and Facebook as well, depending on the type of contest, but everyone is announced in the newsletter. So make sure you guys check that out, because if you win, you gotta give me a call or whatnot so I can get your address to mail this out to you. I thank Jason Boyd over there at Benchmade for sending this out to me. I appreciate it. And hopefully we'll get some other stuff from Benchmade in the near future to check out and do some reviews on. And check them out at benchmade.com. I'm Adam from equippedindoor.com. You guys have any questions or comments, you know where to reach me. You guys take care, be safe out there, and remember, if you're not always prepared, you're never prepared. Thanks.